This is week 13 of investing every week in the stock market. I started this series to document my journey in the stock market and in the hope someone might get interested and start investing or stay consistent with their investing journey. If one person gets motivated, I think the goal is accomplished. This week we have $180 to invest plus some leftover dividends for a grand total of $205. My first buy, as always, is going to be in the S&P 500, the holy grail for investing for pretty much anybody that is under the age of 75. The S&P 500 is an index that tracks the 500 biggest companies in the United States of America, from tech to manufacturing, consumer goods, financials, any industry that you can possibly think of is included in the S&P 500. It has historically returned 10% on average for the last 40 years now, and I like this ETF, USSL in particular, because it adds 25% leverage to the S&P 500. What does that even mean? That basically means that the return of the S&P 500 is going to be magnified by 25%. If the S&P 500 goes up by 10%, this ETF, USSL, is going to go up by 12.5%. The reverse is also true though. If the S&P 500 goes down by 10%, this ETF is going to go down by 12.5% plus leverage cost, or the cost of interest that the ETF provider takes out. I believe for a younger investor like myself, the long-term potential for the S&P 500 is huge, and adding some modest leverage is only going to magnify the returns. So I'm going to go ahead and buy 3 shares of USSL to the order and done. My next buy is going to be in a leveraged NASDAQ 100 ETF. The NASDAQ 100, much like the S&P 500, tracks 100 of the biggest companies in the United States of America. If you don't like tech, you might not like this ETF since it's heavily tech focused, because it just so happens that the biggest companies in the world are tech companies because they've added the most value in the last decade. I personally think tech has tremendous growth potential in the future, particularly because any big industry that is forward-looking has technological elements. For example, AI is a big one, data is a big one, literally anything that you can think of has technology embedded in it. Even me talking to a camera right now, a camera has technology, the mic is technology, literally everything is technology. This ETF, QQQL, is 25% leverage, much like USSL. That means that the returns of the NASDAQ are going to be magnified by 25%. The risk is still there though. If the NASDAQ goes down 10%, this is once again going to go down 12.5% plus leverage costs. I think for a younger investor like myself, this is also a good bet for the long run. I can withstand those peaks and valleys. And for that reason, I'm going to buy 2 shares of QQQL, submit the order, and done. My next buy is going to be in the Canadian market through this ETF called BDY. Since I do live in the Maple Land, home of the cold, home of the polar bears, I do want to invest in the Canadian economy. My friend Trump might put some tariffs on my country, but that is okay. I think Canadian industries like oil and gas, telecom, banking, insurance, and other oligopolies are always going to be there. These industries, apart from the oligopolies, have continuously increased their revenues as well, increased earnings, and I think are a good bet for the Canadian economy in the future. A good thing about this ETF, BDY, that tracks the TSX 60 is that it also has a nice dividend yield at around 4.2 to 4.5% depending on the price of the ETF. So I'm not getting only the 20% per year stock price appreciation, well, I shouldn't say per year, but in the past year, as you can see, it has been up 19.5%. I'm also getting that nice 4% dividend that one day I can retire on and live in Thailand happily ever after. So I'm going to go ahead and buy 1 share of BDY to the order and done. Unfortunately, I do have some money in my other accounts, but I'm not going to buy any stocks because I don't like buying fractional shares. There's no logic to this. I'm just irrational and I like having whole shares. That's pretty much it. Let me know what you bought this week in the market, what you've been buying and has been working well for you, since I'm always very happy to partake in some nice gains. As always, if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and the subscribe button. Every subscriber matters and helps get this video to the right people. Also interested in money, finance, and learning how to save and invest. I'll see you next week.